Hello and welcome to the Deception Tips podcast, where you will learn amazing cues to detect deceit that will help you read people like never before. I'm your host, Spencer Kaufman. Let's get started.
Welcome to episode 14 of the Deception Tips podcast. I thank you for listening for this long, and I hope you continue to subscribe and to share this with your friends. Last time, we spoke about a cool deception tip that wasn't an apparent outward sign. It was more of a sign where you need to use your intellect and figure out if they are telling the truth or whether or not they are lying. We said there were 3 important things that you need to do in order to get the truth from that person. The first one is let them speak. You must stay silent. Let the liar talk because they have a burning desire to tell you their story. And as an interrogator or a questioner or whomever you call yourself or whatever you want to say, you have a desire to hear what they have to say. Therefore, let them talk. The next one is that they will continue to speak until they believe that you believe their lie. And that's coupled with a side fact that they will also speak until they believe their lie. They're not only trying to talk you into believing the lie, but they are also trying to talk themselves into believing their lie. They're feeling guilty about what they did, and now they're feeling guilty again about lying about it. Therefore, they will spend a lot of time trying to not only convince you, but also trying to convince themselves. The third thing is that they will contradict themselves, thereby revealing the truth. Now, this contradiction doesn't directly reveal the truth. You need to be paying attention to notice that contradiction so that you will know what the truth is. Now, the truth may not always be readily apparent in that contradiction. For example, if they say one thing right away and then later say the opposite thing, you may not know which one was true. Maybe the first one was a lie, maybe the second one was a truth. That is the typical scenario. Usually they're telling the lie first, and then later when they contradict it, that is the truth. However, sometimes people could accidentally contradict themselves, and one could be the truth and one could be a lie, and you don't know which one. Therefore, it's up to you to continually question and reason and think about the possibilities to determine if the first one, original story, was the lie, or if the contradiction is the lie. That is up to you to figure out. Today, we are going to talk about a sign of deception that is really a sign of deception. We're back on to signs of the body, body leakage, and visible signs of deception. This sign is visible on the face, and it has to do with facial expressions of behavior and deception. It's not a bodily sign. It's not that form of leakage. It is something that you will witness right on the face, and it is something that is pretty hard for people to mask or to cover up, and it happens in a very, very short period of time. I'm talking a fraction of a second, possibly like a fifth or a quarter of a second. It is instant. It is a borderline micro expression because it could happen right away instantly before, and then the person could try to mask it or conceal it by covering it up and then accentuating their face, so that you will not be able to notice it as easily. But most of the time, people aren't consciously aware of these things, so you will be able to see it because it is a pretty obvious sign of deception. The key is whether or not it actually indicates deception or whether it indicates something else. So as always, you'll have to pay attention to some clusters and patterns of behavior. So here it is, deception tip 14. Truthful facial expressions of emotion appear naturally and are symmetrical. Deceptive facial expressions appear at will and are asymmetrical. Here it is again. Truthful facial expressions of emotion appear naturally and are symmetrical. Deceptive facial expressions appear at will and are asymmetrical. So what does this mean? Well, it means that when someone is telling the truth, the facial expressions that they express are going to happen on both sides of the face. They happen symmetrically. Obviously, their face may not be symmetrical, or if people have had surgery or different things like that, it may not be perfectly symmetrical, like a beautiful square that you fold in half, or like a snowflake that looks amazing. But in general, when people have things that they're expressing on their face, like their eyebrows go up or they smile, you're going to see both eyebrows go up. You're going to see both sides of their mouth go up in a smile. You'll see their eyes wrinkle on both sides of their face. If they are being deceptive, you will only see it on one side of their face. They will be asymmetrical, so that means not symmetrical. When you put the A in front of a word, typically it means not. Some old ancient Greek language thing or Latin thing, doesn't matter, they'll be asymmetrical. So for example, they may only smile with half of their face, only one eyebrow may go up. This is a common thing in many signs of deception. It doesn't only happen on the face. Oftentimes, we haven't gotten to this sign yet, but I'm going to give you a sneak peek. When people shrug their shoulders, usually you shrug both shoulders when you don't know something and when you don't believe someone. But if you only shrug one shoulder, that could be a sign of deception because it's just kind of half your body. You're only half into it. You're not 100% committed. You don't fully believe that what you're doing is the truth. But when you believe that it is the truth and when you know it is the truth, your whole body is committed. This could be the same thing with hand gestures or certain things. When someone is talking, you often see them use both hands to emphasize what they're saying. Sometimes people may only use one hand or throw it up in a I don't know gesture with their palm kind of turned upward. But if they really don't know, it'll be both hands. You'll see the stereotypical shrug where they shrug both shoulders, turn both hands upward, and they kind of don't know. Sometimes they'll even dip their head down, and their head may go to one side or the other. Obviously, your head can't go to both sides because you don't have two heads, so that won't be symmetrical. But the point is, truthful facial expressions of emotion appear naturally and are symmetrical. Deceptive appear at will and are asymmetrical. When I was in college, I conducted a study about smiles, and I found a lot of results about symmetricality in facial expressions that I'll tell you about coming up after this.
Would you like to know if you're being lied to? Lies are everywhere, and they could be happening to you. A Guide to Deception is a great book filled with information on how to spot lies. Get your copy today online at spencerkaufman.com.
When I was in college, I conducted a study or an experiment to determine whether or not people can tell the difference between a real smile, one that is genuine and that represents feelings of happiness and real, true emotion, and a fake smile, which is one that is just kind of a polite or a social smile given for terms of being polite or maybe some embarrassment or something like that. It's just a general smile. Although this study was specifically dedicated to determining whether or not people could tell the difference between smiles, I also found a lot of results in the symmetricality of smiles. And what I found was that smiles that are true and genuine are definitely symmetrical. They really are. Both sides of the cheeks move up. The corners of the lips both go up. The crow's feet in the corners of the eyes appear on both eyes, and a person's entire face really lights up with that smile. It is just like it's glowing, and both sides are perfectly symmetrical. If you snapped a picture at the peak of the smile and then put a piece of paper over the right side, you'll see the left side is a nice smile. If you flip that paper over and put it over the left side, you'll see the right side is a nice smile. It's almost like those little things that you used to get in coloring books where they have a grid line and you could draw the person, and then down below they had only half the person drawn and you were to complete the other half. It looks just like that. You could flip it over and see both sides of their face a symmetrical smile. However, when you had asymmetrical smiles or fake smiles that weren't symmetrical, they definitely weren't symmetrical. They often happened only on one side of the face. Typically, this was the left side of the face. And this is generally what you're going to see with most emotions and with most signs of deception, is they will appear asymmetrically on the left side of the face, or primarily on the left side of the face. They'll happen there first. So you may get feelings of contempt or anger or something, or a slight smile, and it kind of happens on the left. It's that typical archaic smile is what it's called, from the old paintings of Leonardo da Vinci and those other days of ancient times. Mona Lisa has that little archaic smile. Michelangelo often used archaic smiles. They're just a little smile. Oftentimes it's only one side of the mouth, and it's just a little bit of an upturned lip. These false emotions often happen on the left side of the face. This is primarily because the right brain, which controls the left side of the body, is usually the one that happens with deception or fake emotions. The left brain, or the left side of the brain, is generally more true and feeling of spontaneous emotion. It happens instantly. And anything spontaneous, any true spontaneous expression, whether you take deception or something like a smile or surprise or fear, those are really great expressions to look at the spontaneousness of an expression, because in surprise, both eyes light up instantly, the eyebrows sometimes go up, and their mouth will drop open. This happens instantly on both sides of the face. However, if someone fakes surprise, it is usually only on the left side of the face. Their one eye may go up a little bit more, their mouth may open and be a little bit more on one side than the other. This is because the right side of the brain is more involved in faking emotions than the left side of the brain. That is the spontaneous side. When you look for these things, you'll notice that the asymmetrical forms of leakage happen on the left side of the face more than the right. Pay attention to people when they smile and see when they do those polite smiles, which corner of their mouth goes up higher. Is it the left or is it the right? Oftentimes it'll be the left. If not, the right may go up higher because they've realized that that has a contradiction and they've compensated. So oftentimes the best bet to determine whether or not these asymmetrical signs are fake emotions is to watch instantly, because usually this asymmetricality is visible within the first fraction of a second. Usually it's the first half of a second of that emotion. It could be the first full second, because smiles generally take about 4 seconds to get to peak. Whereas other emotions like surprise, they're less than a second. So generally, if you look and you figure anything within the first second, probably within the first half of a second, you see any asymmetricality happening there, then you know that emotion is fake. Now, the person could know that that emotion is fake, so their fake smile may start and be more readily realized on the left side of the face in the first fraction of a second, but then the right side comes up to compensate for it. Or it happens instantly on the right side, and then the left side comes up to compensate, which is why it appears asymmetrically on the left side of the face. So there are like 3 phases that it happens. This asymmetricality is displayed immediately on the left side of the face because the right side is fake emotion. Then the left side will chime in. After that, the right side continues to go and to kind of overcompensate to portray that fake emotion. The right brain controls the left side of the face, so it gets a little bit bigger. So oftentimes you'll see a person who with a fake smile, their left cheek corner or left mouth corner will be up higher than their right, because it is the right brain that is trying to push that fake smile on the left side of the face to make it appear more genuine. This could happen with any form of emotion, but smiles, it's very easily visible and very easy to see, because typically when you see a smile, you know what a smile looks like. You know it's both sides of the face. Oftentimes people who smile fakely, they just kind of put it up there, and you may see it more on the right side. Then all of a sudden the left side comes in because they're trying to overcompensate for that. The main thing is, anytime that you see asymmetricality on people's faces, you will know that something is not true. There's something happening where they're either lying, they're faking that emotion, they don't really feel that emotion, they're using some form of facial expression just to be polite. Whatever the case is, if something is asymmetrical on their face, you know that there is some deception behind there. Of course, you always need to look out for other signs and other patterns, clusters of deception, to determine whether or not that asymmetricality is a result of an emotion or if it is a physical condition. Perhaps they've had some Botox and maybe only one side of the face works properly. Maybe they've had some kind of plastic surgery, some nerve damage. You never know. Maybe they had a stroke and half their face doesn't work, or it's drooping. There could be any number of reasons why it may not be symmetrical, and until you know those reasons, you can't definitively determine whether or not they are lying. You need to look for the patterns and the clusters of behavior to reinforce those signs. I want to thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Deception Tips Podcast. I encourage you to share it with your friends, subscribe to the feeds, follow the blogs, take a look at my books, and tune in every week for a new Deception Tip.